You know, I think there are certain kinds of people in the world that gravitate towards things that are creative outlets, right? We call them creative people. And I think it's really funny. Like you'll find a lot of musicians also like to write and draw and paint. And, I think there's this common thread that if you're somebody that has it's not only a want, it's like a need to be creative,
Yeah.
then hopefully you're lucky enough to find music. I was fortunate enough to find music at an early age, and I was into painting and drawing and all that. And I gravitated towards the guitar for whatever reason. I grew up in a town on Long Island where at that time everybody played for some reason. There were so many bands. And you could literally walk down the street and hear garage bands and walk in and see people playing. There were battle of the bands and school and a lot of guitar-centric music on the radio.
Right.
Growing up on Long Island, all the rock stations would always play Zeppelin and Boston and AC/DC and Ozzy and Sabbath and all
Guitar
that
was
stuff.
ruling the world.
Yeah. So, to me, guitar became the vehicle to express myself creatively. I always wanted to create, to write, to make something. And guitar was just the thing that I found that enabled me to do that. So that's why you should play guitar. It's a lot of fun if you're a creative person who likes to make stuff. Well, it's really funny. I've told the story before, and I was pretty young, but I had this reoccurring dream that I was on stage playing guitar.
Wow.
And it was before I was like really into bands and stuff like that. I was like, wow, for some reason I need to do that. It drew me in. I don't know why. Even before I really knew what was happening on the instrument, meaning I would hear things on the radio and have no concept as to how those guys were making it happen.
Right.
I'd hear like Iron Maiden and there were two guitar players harmonizing, but I didn't know that. I'm like,
Right.
how come when I play it just sounds like where's the other part? Same with like Boston and stuff like that. Or Van Halen, hearing him do the different techniques with tapping and stuff. It didn't even sound like a guitar. I had no idea how that was happening, but I was still drawn to it.
Right.
And I think more specifically too is just like rock, rock guitar playing, heavy, metal stuff like that. It kind of like, for some reason, probably the age I was at the time and when that stuff was happening, it just hit me and I was like, wow, I love that. I love Maiden. I love Metallica. And then as I started to get more proficient at the instrument, then I started to expand into more technical players that played styles outside of rock and
Sure.
metal.
Right.
So that's when I got into Steve Morse and the Dregs and Al Di Meola and Return to Forever and his stuff and Holdsworth and all that stuff. And so I ended up kind of combining it all, I guess.
Right.
And two bands in particular that were those wow moments, like, what the hell is this? I need to know. Was hearing Rush for the first time. And that ended up being a huge, huge influence on my playing and my writing style
Right.
and my approach to orchestrating guitar parts. And Yes was another one. And if you look at Dream Theater now, we have the same instrumentation, where guitar and keyboards are big parts of that kind of bigger orchestral,
Yeah.
progressive rock sound, So, yeah. I do remember like that it was impossible to even play the simplest things when I first started. A lot of guitar players will tell you that it's not necessarily an easy instrument to get started with.
Right.
It's like when you play the piano, assuming it's in tune and you lay your hands on it, it sounds good.
Right.
Guitar, you have this whole learning curve of gaining strength and making sure notes are coming out and things aren't ringing and in the wrong place. So it's like even just trying to play basic bar chords and stuff was a challenge.
Right.
I'm trying to think back then, what would I even play? Like, even like some of the Doors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Everything that I played was like not very complicated. That maybe just kind of, that was just based around pentatonic and
Well, it sounds like rock.
and stuff like that. It sounds like rock. Yeah, basic like rock. I mean, even the AC/DC stuff and the Zeppelin stuff all kind of was in that zone, where, in the basic keys. That kind of zone. I mean, even early Rush, right? I don't know if I can. Right?
What is that?
I think that's Working Man.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think so. Might got to get it straight. But the first Rush album was all like kind of Zeppelin inspired trio stuff. That had like a lot of extended guitar solo sections, and was in that vein where it's playing like single note rock kind of bluesy Zeppelin-ish riffs. And I even remember things like trying to learn how to do basic things Alex would do, where it would sound really great if you just kept repeating this certain look. When you were soloing, it's like just had this really aggressive sound and things like that.
Those things are always going to sound great.
They'd always, there's always room for that. Yeah, absolutely. But that was like my first, even like little licks, like I'd try to play. Even something like that little like. Like maybe when I first learned it, I was like listening to the notes, and I had a record player, and I would slow it down, and I'd be like, okay, these are the notes. It's like, why doesn't it sound like it? And it's not until you discover that there's a bend involved, and maybe there's a bit of a ghost bend, so you're bending it before. And why when he's playing these two notes, why does it sound like there's a growl? I didn't realize they were both ringing at the same time. So these are like discoveries that you make either when you see somebody do it, right? Or when you somehow get to that point where you stumble upon it.
And then
that's
you
how you
stop
do
and
it.
Wait, what? That's a thing.
I remember trying to play. So my friends and I would play Paranoid as a cover song, and then there was a garage band, and they were playing Paranoid, and I watched that, and the guy went. I'm like, holy crap! That's it. I was missing that little,
Yeah.
And so you find you discover those little secrets, and it starts to slowly unlock the guitar, and you start to figure out how these things are being done, and it becomes a little less mysterious for you, and that kind of drives you to want to learn more.